The Sopranos is widely viewed as the single greatest television show of all time. As we all know, it served as a groundbreaking series that changed television forever by showcasing and bringing violence to television, as well as introducing audiences to an anti-hero in Tony Soprano that inspired countless of other evil characters that captured our hearts. As without the Sopranos, there likely aren't series like Breaking Bad, Dexter, Peaky Blinders, and Ozark, or even characters like Walter White for that matter. While a majority of the show centered around its anti-hero in Tony Soprano and his battles with mental health, his relationship with his mother, and trying to balance his work life of being a mob boss with his family life, and yet, at its core, the series is much more than a fictional mob drama that features who gets whacked and who is fortunate enough to stay alive. What makes The Sopranos so special is that it features themes of family, love, loyalty, and has its own comedic charm to it. The Sopranos featured 6 seasons and 86 episodes that delivered brilliance, charm, and perfection on a weekly basis every Sunday night. And with the Many Saints of Newark's predecessor being so good, it struggles to recapture what made The Sopranos so great in the first place. And while the Many Saints of Newark clearly pays homage to its roots of The Sopranos' greatness with the many references that we see throughout the film, its disjointed storyline seems to lack focus as it leaves us wanting more come the film's ending. Directed by Alan Taylor, who directed 9 episodes of The Sopranos, ironically including the death of Christopher Moltisanti in Kennedy and Heidi, the film is also written by the series' creator and mastermind behind The Sopranos, David Chase. To begin, the film focuses on 3 major storylines. The first being the film depicting the Newark race riots that took place in 1967, a real-life event that we saw take place in a Sopranos flashback. While the marketing for the film and trailers tended to make this narrative a driving point for the film, it sadly hides in the film's background, as the riots were just briefly mentioned and just feel randomly placed within the film's first act. The riots' purpose to the plot and the film's overall progression didn't seem to provide enough impact within the film, as the riots were only mentioned in passing with a few scenes highlighting the rampage that took place in the summer of '67. The riots didn't directly impact the film's overall progression and served no purpose towards the DeMeo crime family and its characters like Dickie Moltisanti. This brings us to our second storyline in the film that focuses on the character of Harold McBrayer. McBrayer serves as a small-time associate of Moltisanti's. As early on in the film, the two can often be seen together with McBrayer playing the role of Moltisanti's muscle and enforcer. It's arguable that the character of McBrayer is the only character within the film that we see grow and develop during the film's brief 2-hour runtime. We watch his character grow immensely after McBrayer becomes tired of the Italian mob controlling Newark and especially the African American neighborhoods. This results in a dispute developing between McBrayer and Moltisanti, all while the Newark race riots are taking place throughout the city, which only results in more added tension to their relationship. Throughout the conflict between McBrayer and Moltisanti, there are a few side plots and tense scenes that come up as a result of their strained relationship, but there's never enough to move the overall story of the film. With McBrayer's growth and development, his questionable large amount of screen time of a character that has no relationship with the audience, and the conflict between him and Moltisanti all sadly feel forced into the film and unnecessary, resulting in the conflict between McBrayer and Dickie Moltisanti to be anticlimactic and unresolved come the film's third act. The film's third storyline that it focuses on is a mixture of Dickie Moltisanti's character growth and development and his relationship with his nephew in Tony Soprano. Much like his nephew in The Sopranos, Dickie wants to change into a better person throughout the film, but never fully comes to this fabrication of doing a good deed and becoming a good influence for Tony. Similarly with the marketing for the film hammering the notion of the Newark race riots being a focal point for the film, the same can be said in the narrative of Tony Soprano, as the Many Saints of Newark characterized the film as an upbringing of Tony Soprano. The film's marketing led audiences to believe that Dickie Moltisanti was held accountable for the awful human being that Tony Soprano developed into throughout The Sopranos. The film does follow the early adolescent years of a young Tony Soprano, but rather the Many Saints of Newark isn't really a Tony Soprano origin story at all. At times, we rarely get to see Michael Gandolfini, who is portraying a younger version of his father's iconic role. And just when we seem to be getting more screen time from a rugged Soprano, the film is over. Soprano's relationship with his supposed mentor Dickie Moltisanti is displayed in the film's shadows, as towards the end of the film, its storyline tended to focus on the overall character growth and development of Dickie Moltisanti. We never truly get to see any character development from Michael Gandolfini's portrayal of the iconic role his father played. However, despite all of the confusion and the unorganization within the narrative structure, The Many Saints of Newark has its own charisma and atmosphere. From start to finish, the film does a good job at providing a compelling structure that will keep audiences entertained. A big reason for this great sense of concentration is the cinematography and its lighting, as there are numerous moments throughout the film that are reminiscent of Taylor's work on The Sopranos. The film's costumes, set design, and music all feel nostalgic and really make you feel as if you're growing up throughout the 1960s and 1970s. The film's introduction and decision to use a deceased Christopher Moltisanti, the son of Dickie Moltisanti, to be the film's narrator works flawlessly and at times is underutilized. There are also some stellar performances here too, as Alessandro Nivola, Michael Gandolfini, Ray Liotta, and Michaela De Rossi are all fantastic throughout the film. But it's Vera Farmiga's brilliant portrayal, however, of the delusional Olivia Soprano that distracts you from the disjointed narrative of the film, as she reflects her deranged personality that she displayed in The Sopranos. Even Corey Stoll's brief role of Uncle Jr. adds a level of charm towards the film that is reminiscent of The Sopranos. But much like Gandolfini's brief portrayal of Tony Soprano, Stoll's role of Uncle Jr. leaves us wanting more. But it's the fan-favorite characters of Silvio Dante, Polly Walnuts, and Big Pussy that are most disappointing throughout the film. While John Magaro's portrayal of Silvio Dante does have a few good lines and mannerisms throughout the film, his portrayal of the loyal consigliere appeared more as an impression rather than acting, and Polly and Pussy were simply not given enough screen time. The Many Saints of Newark does enough to be viewed as its own individual film, but won't be looked at in the upper echelon of gangster films within the genre. Sure, its costume design, set design, and star-studded cast make audiences nostalgic of The Sopranos' attention to detail. However, The Many Saints of Newark simply lacks a clear focus and narrative, all while running on an incredibly short 2-hour runtime. The Many Saints of Newark truly makes us appreciate The Sopranos' brilliance, charisma, and hilariousness and charm that was featured in every single episode. The film's ending does leave an opening for a potential mini-series if Chase does decide to go down that route. Well, that's my review of The Many Saints of Newark. If I had to rate it out of 10, I would probably give it a 6 or a 7. Let me know what you thought of the film down below in the comment section, and for more Sopranos and Many Saints of Newark content, keep it locked here, right here on this channel.